burning ourselves out is actually not the answer or the solution to what we got going on.
I feel like I'm going to be selfish if I ask for help.
And I really think that stems from having 2 kids with type 1 diabetes because you can't think about yourself first.
I've had to probably work the hardest that I ever have.
Hey, Palmr fam, I'm Rebecca,
And I'm Nick.
and welcome to another episode with us. We're so excited again, like always, to be here.
Yes, man, it has been a great holiday,
Yeah.
but a very busy holiday for us.
You're like, it's been a great holiday. It has. Very busy.
Have you ever experienced a holiday like this?
No,
Yeah.
no.
And this episode's going to be so important because one thing that's definitely happened because of how crazy this month has been is I think all of our self-care kind of got thrown out the window.
Oh, yeah. It really did.
So this whole episode today is going to be on self-care going into the new year
Yes.
and us looking back at what we did good, what we did bad, and what are we going to do differently so we can have a better 2025.
Wow, 2025.
Yeah,
Crazy. But
Yeah,
yes.
it is crazy that it is going to be 2025. And maybe when you're even listening to this, it is already 2025. But let's get rolling.
Okay. Let's
All
get
right.
into it.
Let's start out by kind of reflecting on this past year. So, Rebecca, get us started. What was this last year like for you? And especially from a self-care standpoint?
Yeah, so I feel like this year was really interesting for many reasons because it's our first year. We launched Palmr this year. And we've gone through so many changes, even within Palmr, like so many things that we have improved on and so many things we've gotten to accomplish, which has been super exciting. So this year is my first year of being an entrepreneur, which was a lot. I know everyone says like it's a lot of work, but that's like an understatement. But I did say something interesting the other day to my mom, and I'm like, I'm so tired. We've been working so much, but I don't feel like it's quote unquote work. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I enjoy it so much. It's such a passion of mine, and I so want to grow and continue to grow Palmr that I'm just so motivated. And I feel like that's what gets me through all these like days of like lack of sleep and being in the warehouse all day and just going back and forth and literally just repeating the same thing the next day.
Yeah,
So,
and you're right because this is your first year being an entrepreneur and
yeah.
starting your own business. I've been doing it for basically almost my entire adult life. And when people hear me say, like, oh, yeah, I love working, it's because you love what you do at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's one thing I know for me personally, is that just because you love doing something, you also have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I know for me personally, I did not do a very good job, especially for this last probably quarter or month or two.
Yeah, I feel like you started 2024 like really strong and then yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with how much like pivoting we've done or you've done with your other company, Threadbird.
Yes. And for me, I mean, basically, I am running two companies full time.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm just working too much. As much as I love working, what I also don't realize is that I'm burning myself out because I'm easily working 70 to 80 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
right now, 7 days a week
Yeah.
between both businesses. And, it's been a challenging year for, I mean, I think it's been for a lot of businesses because we've been in this economy that has not been great over the last year or two. Everything's more expensive. People don't have enough money.
Mhm.
And so I've had to probably work the hardest that I ever have. And like you said, pivot, think outside the box. What do we need to change? And
Mhm.
as fun as that is, I've also worked way too many hours.
And ask your wife and her parents to help you too.
Yes.
We have been little elves in the warehouse, my parents and me and all of us. We've all been like,
It is a family business
yes.
because they've been in the warehouse helping, not making any money, just doing it
No.
for pure out of pure love because it's that time of year. We had to get packages out.
Mhm.
And that's what you do when you're an entrepreneur is you get in there and you just have to make it happen.
Yeah.
And
I think one thing to hone in on too is that Nick wasn't coming to me and asking me like, "Hey, can you come work in the warehouse?" Like there was none of that happening. But he was approaching burnout. And I know you well enough to know that in that moment of burnout, what you really needed was help. And I came to you and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna come into the warehouse and I'm gonna work and I'm gonna ask my parents if they're willing to work as well and come in the warehouse on the weekends." And my dad's retired, so he was helping us during the week too. That is just something that does not come naturally from you to like ask for help.
no,
Like it's just this out of body experience for you. Like if Nick asks you for help, it's like he's in dire need of help and it's like the last resort.
that's where that pride kind of comes in.
Yeah, and I also just feel like you're just used to just, getting through it and figuring it out on your own and, which is awesome, but there's times that you have to realize and like, hey, I have like nothing left to give right now. Like I need to ask for help. At the end of the day, it's really why you have, a support system and a spouse, but also your family as well.
Definitely, because pretty much most days I'm coming home mentally exhausted. And I know it's the same for you, so I don't want to think it's just me.
But we literally, like, we can't even make conversations anymore. Like,
Yeah.
the last few weeks, we've been so tired that we will get home and, well, first of all, if we drove together, we'll drive in silence on the way home. And then we go home, we eat, like, we shower. It's like we have this routine and, like, we've barely said more than 5 words to each other at this point because we're just so mentally exhausted. But something that I found super fascinating is that you would think that we would, like, have grown so much apart, like, during this and, like, like, feel like we're on different ends of things. It really brought us closer together because, I mean, we were already working together with doing Palmer, but being so busy and being in this together of, like, hey, like, kind of having that, like, sense of Nick's not alone in this. Like we got this. Like we're all in this together. Like we're going to do it. And it goes back to like being on the same team and
Yes.
reminding your partner like I am on your team and I'm here to support you. So use me where you need me and let's get this done together.
And it's all about just being selfless at the end
Yeah.
of the day. It's like, I think it is human nature for most people to be selfish, right? Like you think about yourself first.
Mhm.
And with this, like in being in our marriage, we're both people that kind of almost think about the other person first.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I almost don't like asking for help a lot of times because I feel like I'm going to be selfish if I ask for help. And that's not what it's about. And you proved to me over many, many times, like, that's not the way. And so we've been a lot more open in communication of like, what do we need and all those type of things. We also know that we cannot continue this where, yes, this is a season that is fine. If we try to do this continuing into next year, we are going to burn ourselves out.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have a marriage.
Which literally goes against everything of why we started Palmer and why we wanted this community to build this community. And even with this YouTube channel, like
Mhm.
why we wanted to do this, we're all about self care because let's be honest, I was thinking about it as you were just talking. You don't typically think about yourself first,
No.
right? Like
And
at all.
no.
And I really think that stems from having two kids with type 1 diabetes because you can't think about yourself first. You don't come first in that situation, which, like, I think I've kind of like mirrored that in a way now too, like being a blended family. When we have the kid, you and I unfortunately don't come first because there's diabetes on the line and basically both their lives are in our hands at that time when they're with us. But it's also realizing like as quote unquote we can't come first because there's diabetes, we also are the only ones that can advocate for ourselves and we need to be aware of like our limits because we still are human. We still have limits even though we have type 1 diabetes in our life. It can't rule us and it can overwhelm us and it can destroy us, which is really why we're here with Palmer, which is why we wanted to do all this and share our story and have it resonate with so many families out there that are caregivers. And even if it's not type 1 diabetes, it could just be simply parenting, which is difficult.
And I think too with it is when you go on social media, for example, you hear people talk about self-care and all these type of things, but most of the time I always feel like they're portraying their life like they got this perfect life almost.
Mm,
And well, yes, maybe they say some great things, it's very motivational, all those. I know for me, I almost find more strength learning that, oh no, people are human,
mm,
right? Like I know from even on a religious standpoint, people look at pastors that, oh, they need to be this perfect human being. They put them up on a pedestal
mm,
and, oh, they don't do anything wrong because they're this godly person. And in all reality, no, they're actually just like us.
mm,
And I have found some of the messages that has affected me and encouraged me the most have been when the pastors actually share their flaws and when they might preach one thing,
mm.
but they fail themselves
Yeah.
at a time. And there was God, this was probably over 10 years ago, a church I was going to, and the pastor was amazing and he's telling this story that how he completely dropped the ball, lost it on his kids, yelled at his wife, slammed out of the house, went in the car, and just left.
Mm,
And he's sharing this whole story, and then he stops and goes, "Yeah, I know what you guys are thinking. Um, that's my pastor." And yeah, everybody laughed,
mm,
but it was the truth.
yeah.
He's a human being,
Mm,
and so when we talk about self care, we talk about it because we don't have it figured out.
yeah.
Yes, we can say all the right things,
Mm,
but most of the time, we're not practicing it the best way. And right now, that is what's been happening because Palmer, Threadbird, Pivot Gals, all the things that we're doing right now
yeah.
have taken over our life and we're working too much. And I know that two major areas for me personally that I have seen that go out the window first more than
Mm,
anything is one, working out.
yeah.
Because for a while I was trying to get out there, do some type of working out, all those type of things, and get up in the morning. That was part of my morning routine.
Mm,
That just went out the door. It's like, oh, I don't got time to take care of myself.
yeah.
I just got to get right in and working. And then literally giving up any personal time. Like, I can't go have fun.
Mm,
I can't think about a night to go hang out with friends or do something or play a board game because, again, I feel like I'm going to be so-called selfish doing that.
yeah. It's so powerful. But then it's also so like ironic because me as your spouse, I can see it. I can see it when you haven't been waking up, you haven't been doing your Jesus time, you haven't been doing your working out, like, and then I can also see like when you really could use a night out with your friends and playing a board game. Like I can see it. I feel it, I see it, and I also do the same thing. I feel like I started the year super strong with like, all right, on transition days, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be away from the house for about 2 hours and I'm either going to go get a massage, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go hang out with a friend. Like I was so good and I was doing good at it for a while, but then, life just started lifing and one of my girlfriends, like, I really can't remember the last time, like, that we met and had dinner or anything, and being able to admit to yourself, "Hey, yes, there's so much going on in life right now, and yes, it's busy season and all these things need to be done," but actually realizing that if you don't take care of yourself, you're actually not gonna be able to get the things done that need to get done, and if you do get them done, you're not gonna get them done right.
Yes.
And that's something that we've unfortunately had to, like, learn the hard way of we think, like, trying to push through is gonna really, like, get us ahead, but it actually doesn't. It actually pushes us back. And then we end up at square one, and we're like, "What are we doing? Like, why are we here again? Why is this happening?" Again, I think this channel is kind of keeping us accountable in a way of we're preaching this self-care. We're like sharing our story with you all and want you all to share with us your stories and being caregivers and having type 1 diabetes or whatever the case may be. It's good and dandy to say it and it looks real pretty on our packaging, but it's like we also have to be living our life with it too.
How often, when we record one of these episodes, as you're talking about topic, you're just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm totally messing that up right now." Like, I am not practicing what I preach. And it's like a reminder of, "Oh, I need to do a little bit better at so and so," right? Like, so many times it has happened to me personally.
Yeah, like, you almost, like, in a way feel like a fraud because 'cause you're like, "What is going on?" And then it's like, and I really see it in you that, like, you're like, "Oh, well, it has to get done." Like, there's just no other time. I have no other time to do it, like, it has to get done. 2 hours later, I'm, like, talking to you about the thing, and you're like, "Oh, it's done. Like, I did this, this, and this, and this." And I'm like, "It's not done." Like, you didn't really get anything done. That's just the part of it, and I think we live in a society, and I think we're all getting better at this, but there was a time that it was like, "Oh, you hustle till, like, you're literally so burned out, you have nothing left to give, and that's how you'll get ahead." And it's really realizing, like, that's not how we were made. God didn't make us to be just going and going and going and going all the time. And I really think it's so important for us to realize in our situation, God made you for a reason have these two kids with type 1 diabetes. God also brought me into your life, and I'm a stepmom to these two kids with type 1 diabetes because He made us to be able to handle it. But if we just forget about our why, who we are as people, and just go through the everyday life, we're just not gonna get accomplished of what we're actually we're here and supposed to be doing.
And I know for me, I've been doing a lot of reading recently, and I do a lot of audiobooks. And one of the things that has been amazing for me is as we've been in the warehouse helping, I've been listening to a book called Buy Back Your Time. And it is an incredible book. I highly recommend it. And it's really been very motivational for me. It's like a lot of things that I've already kind of knew, but I was always practicing. And so part of that is, I started because they ask you in the book, like, well, what does your perfect day look like? And what's going to give you energy and what's important to you?
Mhm.
And like, you almost need to, like, they talk about how you need to make out what your perfect day looks like first, and then you kind of work backwards. And so I kind of started out by, making a few notes of like, what do I need to do different to have those perfect days and perfect weeks? And so I wanted to share those, what I wrote down personally.
Mhm.
And so first off, it was I got to get serious about working out
Mhm.
again because I've gained weight and I'm not somebody who is like super self conscious. Like I have my moments, but I physically don't feel as good when I've gained weight,
Yeah.
right? I'm at one of the heaviest I've been. So I got to get serious about working out. I want to spend more time with you, Rebecca, outside of working together.
Mhm.
And yes, we love working together, but we need more time where we put aside working and we're just enjoying ourselves and
Mhm.
working's off limits or talking about it or thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I want to be able to spend more time with my kids doing fun things, right?
Mhm.
Like going to the movies more often and just like putting aside things that they want to go do
Mhm.
that maybe on the weekends I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't go spend as much time with you on this because I'm too busy working. I got to catch up on
Like,
stuff.
even, like, with Parker wanting to go play soccer in our
Yeah.
backyard with you, like
And I was just too tired. I
yeah,
told him, I was like, my body is in so much pain and I'm so tired that I can't even like barely walk right now. And that's a problem, right?
yeah.
Because that's something he's very
And
passionate.
he's not, like, that's not like, he's being very serious about that, like, on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
He actually went and played golf with my brother-in-law, and kinda sorry to share, but he's not the best golfer there is out there.
There's no, yeah, there's nothing to brag about.
But
I
you
lost
yeah.
to a 9-year old.
Oh, yes, because my nephew went too.
So we decided, and this is where you guys can all laugh at me and leave comments and tell me how amazing I am at golf. But so for the second half, we decided to put some money on the lines. It was going to be me versus your nephew, Reagan,
Mhm.
who is 9 years old. We're both going to tee off from the 100-yard line and we're going to play money ball. Like whoever wins the hole pays the other person $1. And we actually end up tying, I will say, but I let him I declared him the victor because on one of the holes that he won, he beat me by 2 strokes, and one of the holes that I won, I beat him by 1 stroke, so he was actually 1 stroke under even though we tied on who won the number of holes, and so he won $1, but yes, I officially lost to a 9-year-old at golf.
But he couldn't walk. So that
No,
was Thanksgiving morning, and then we had Thanksgiving dinner, and
and we
he
did the turkey trot.
oh, yeah, and then we had done the turkey trot earlier before the
This is like a 3-mile run, but we more walked it, but
yeah. Everybody was like, "Is Nick okay?" Like, he looks like he is in so much pain, it's hurting me to, like, look at him. Like, I literally thought I was gonna have to give you, like, a piggyback ride to get you in the car to get you back home. That's how bad
yeah.
you were in such bad pain.
Exactly, and I can't do that,
Yeah.
and so then the last 2 things I kinda had on my list was, 1, I need to get back into playing board games because that has been something that I love. I mean, I got a handful of hobbies, but, like, board games, and I'm not talking about Monopoly, I'm into all the weird indie hardcore board games, right?
Yes.
I love those, and it builds energy and my creativity and thinking and the strategy behind these games, right? And so I gotta get back, and it's also connecting with your friends,
Mhm.
doing things, right? I used to play board games every week, multiple times a week, and now I could probably count on my hands how many times I played a board game in the last year. Pretty sad. And then the last thing is we need to make Sundays our Sabbath. It is a day of rest. We are not working, and we gotta get back to going to church and make that a priority.
Yeah.
Those were the 5 things for me personally that I'm like, "All right,
Mhm.
what does next year need to look like to start this journey for self-care?" And it started by building out, what does my perfect day look like, knowing getting the best results, I guess.
Yeah. And then for me, I really wanna hone in again on this fitness journey that Nick is on as well, but really just making sure that I'm moving my body every single day. Even if it's like we were talking about it yesterday, taking 30 minutes out of your day to do a workout or go for a walk or whatever the case may be of what you're doing is not a lot of time. That is completely feasible to do and something that there should be no reason why we're not doing it. I really had it as a goal this year to get 10,000 steps every day. And I mean, I've done pretty good, especially on my weeks in the warehouse. Whew, I'm
Mhm.
beating everyone. Yeah, just really making sure I'm moving my body and I get 10,000 steps a day because not only is it good for my health, it serves my mental health so much. So, so much. It's a game changer for me. And then also, I really want to make sure that we go back to like dating, going out on dates.
Yeah.
Because I know that we do it. Like, we still go out to dinner. Like, last time we went out to dinner and like, but again, like, it's just most of the time at dinner, I feel like we talked about work and, like, how tired we are and everything that's going on and, like, our future plans and what we have planned out, but it's, like, really going in, having a date night where it's talking about me and you and our relationship. How we can improve on it, like, what are things we can do together, like, find things we can do together. Because I really loved when we were getting ready for our wedding, we would go on a walk every night together, and it was lovely. Like, I felt like we had the best conversations when we were on a walk
It
together,
was.
and it was just so productive, but for our relationship, I felt
Mhm.
like.
Exactly. So, what are some of the things that you want to do differently next year to kind of meet those goals and to, you know, actually be able to take care of yourself?
Yeah, and I think it's something that you've been really helping me on, really honing in on how to get best organized. We have so much to do. We basically are juggling 2 companies. I mean, you are definitely, and then I am launching Pivot Gals this year too, so it's a lot. So we technically both have 2 companies we're running that we're gonna be running, and it's just really finding the best way to get organized and sticking to that organization and just really being honest. I've always said my body is the best indicator of how I'm doing and what I need. So just really being honest and listening to my body. But also, again, you've hit on this. We have to get back to going to church every Sunday. We were doing so good. And even if we weren't able to make it there, we were watching it online and just kind of like life just got in the way. And we were, even when we had the kids, we were doing that with the kids and it was super special. I felt like it was like a good time, a good Sunday well spent.
Yes.
So I really want to make sure that we get back into that, but just also realizing burning ourselves out is actually not the answer or the solution to what we got going on. We're going to be better off if we rest and take care of ourselves, and then we're going to get further along.
And I know for me, I said I was reading the book. We've talked about it how I always think I'm selfish and I don't want to ask for help.
Mm.
And the biggest thing that I've realized going into this year and the biggest change I'm going to make is actually getting help and getting serious with somebody helping. We are talking about actually bringing on a full time assistant
Mhm.
who is going to help us with our life and the businesses and all of our personal kind of tasks, the things that are the reason we're working 70, 80 hours a week. Well, if we can have somebody start taking a lot of those daily grind things off our plate,
Mhm.
that is going to be a game changer for us. So we can then invest more of our time into our self care and not be thinking like, oh, well, everything's falling on my plate right now. Well, if it doesn't get done, like, I mean, that's just unacceptable. It's like, no, we actually need help. And we're always concerned about like the money and the finances, this, how we're gonna do. And it's like, no, none of that's important, right?
Yeah.
If you work yourself to death and have all the money in the world, are you gonna be happy?
You're
Are you gonna be
poor.
healthy?
In reality, you're poor.
You're poor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I've had somebody say this recently. It was like, yeah, do you wanna be a millionaire and have all like unlimited money to basically give yourself a heart attack or not even be able to get out of bed to
Mhm.
actually enjoy your life? I'm like, no, that's not what life is about at the end of the day. It's about actually enjoying yourself, taking care of yourself, finding out what gives you energy,
Mhm.
and then those things that don't give you energy, that suck up your time, buy back that time with help.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, going to be the biggest kind of focus, both on the business side and on a personal side to help, meet these goals for next year.
So, with that being said, and with us ending the episode, what are some tips and tricks that are going to help you stay accountable for 2025? And even if there's things that I can help you on as your partner.
I think the first one is really having those goals set and looking at what does that perfect week look like? Write them out,
Mhm.
print them out, put them in a place where you actually see
Mhm.
on a regular basis. One of the things I've done in the past, and actually when I rearranged my office that went away and I need to put it back up, I had a piece of paper and out is, should I be the one doing this? And always constantly asking myself, is this the best thing for me to be doing?
Mhm.
Or should I be asking for help, getting somebody else to do those things? And then I think lastly is me and you just being in constant communication and aware of how the other person is doing. Because as we said, we're not always aware of it. And I think encouraging each other of, hey, you say you want to go play more board games. Why have you not done that? And
Mhm.
calling each other out, because I think that's important as a couple that we do that for each other.
Yeah.
Why are we not going on walks? Because you're always going to do something to better when there is multiple people and there's accountability.
Mhm.
And so I think us keeping each other accountable is going to be so important for us to actually meet those goals. And I want to get back and in a year do a new episode of this and go back and like, did we actually do what we said we were going to do?
Yeah. And I think something else that is gonna like is a little trick that I feel like we need to use going into 2025 is having a secret word, like our safe word or secret word that we say. And we actually came up with it for me. It's sponge. So basically, if Nick just says sponge, I know that I am taking on everything that's going on around me and I'm not doing well and I'm about to spiral basically. So that's going to be key
Yep.
for us to take too, because there's these moments that I'm just feeling everything that's going on around us and just taking it all on like it's mine to take on and to fix and to make better. And just really having that safe word of like, hey, like you need to stop right now. Like you need to take a breather.
Man,
Yeah.
again, I'm excited because I'm hoping that we can have the discipline. And with your guys' help and us doing these podcasts and the social media, that we can keep ourselves accountable and that we can update you on our journey.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the best way,
Yeah.
is to be open and actually talk about these things.
Yeah, and I'm excited for 2025. I'm excited to continue to grow this community and have this be a safe place for everyone where perfection is thrown out the window and it doesn't even exist here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So thanks for tuning in for another episode with us. We're so happy you were here. Bye, Palmer fam.
Bye.